Hi everyone, my name is Chloé Messdaghi and I'm so excited to be speaking with you today at the conference. Today we're going to talk about burnout and especially basically what we need to know about burnout and the security impact that it has and how us as an industry can improve the situation and even within our own company how to do better. For those who do not know who I am, my name is Chloé Messdaghi once again. I am the owner and growth strategy consultant for Standout in Tech, but you may have heard of me through Hacking is Not a Crime, which we also call HINAC. I'm also the co-founder of We Open Tech. I have a weekly column called Ask Chloe on Security Boulevard, and I am a podcaster for ITSP Magazine. The podcast is called the Changemaking Podcast, and I also co-run the Open Tech Pledge. Now let's get into the real reason why you're here today, to learn about burnout and why you should care. So first things first, we're going to first go into what is burnout, then why burnout matters, and then how to improve, and then we're going to summarize it all. So in 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you everything I can about burnout, why you should care, why we're in this mess in the first place, and some strategies that you can do in your own office to do better. First but not least, this is the image I always use when it comes to burnout. For some reason, for me, it really showcases what burnout feels like. It basically feels like you have zero battery left in you, or you're running on very low battery, and it's taking you forever to do certain projects or tasks. It could also be that you are struggling to focus as well. And this is, to be real with you, many of us are in this place right now, or we've been in this place for some time now, even before the pandemic, but throughout the pandemic, we've definitely been dealing with burnout here and there. And it's okay for us to admit at this time that some of us are just barely okay. And that's all right, because we're in the middle of a crisis that we've never gone through before, and there's no guide on how to do better right now. The only thing we can do is just have hope and know that every day it will get better. But I'm hoping that these strategies that I share with you today about burnout will be kind of like a way how to get out of severe burnout or reduce burnout in a sense. But it's also reminding us that burnout isn't just about self-care. It's about also what are the systems in place that keep having us become burnout. And unfortunately, we work in an industry that's 24/7, and sometimes we can feel like we're robots instead of humans. And this becomes a real issue for us. Because the reality is that in information security or even in cybersecurity, we're always constantly trying to balance our work and life. And what I mean by that is when our work is more than 40 hours a week, that means that less time is going towards our life. So on average, us that work in security, it's around the clock all hours. And it's all days. That means even during holidays, we have to be aware that we could be on call at any moment. And that unfortunately is in the back of our minds. And so it's very hard for us to be present sometimes in our personal life because we're at the edge of our seat in our work life. So this is what it's about. It's about acknowledging that we have a very young industry, and because of that, we don't have a proper work and life balance. And this has a lot to do with how our industry has always viewed how secure it should be 24/7 around the clock, and assuming that we will always do that work without feeling the repercussions of working in that type of field. But it's also employers. There are ways how employers can do better within our industry to make sure that we have more of that balance of work and personal life. Because the reality is burnout occurs when we're not able to balance our work and personal life. And yes, a lot of the time the attention has been turned on us about what are we doing that's making it worse for ourselves, when in reality, I want us to be present in this moment to recognize that systemically, it is our employers that are causing this situation, not so much ourselves, because it's our employers that text us at all hours. It's our employers that Slack us at all hours. It's our employers that call us at all hours. It's our employers that send us emails all hours. It is our employers that make such of a demand at all hours and assumptions that we're always available, that this puts us in a really tricky situation where we can't really be there for others in our personal life because we're constantly on the edge of, what about being there for my work? And the other thing is, it's a good time to keep in mind that sometimes we have actually included in our own identity who we really are is someone who does this job. And the reality is, that's not true. We are not our job. We are an individual that does a lot of other things outside of our job, and our job does not make us who we are today. It's who we are in our personal life that makes us who we are in real life. But here are some signs to tell whether or not you have burnout. So first things first, you usually might notice that you're feeling burned out is when you are basically, it used to take you a couple minutes to respond to an email. Now it takes you an hour or two. It could also be that you push out deadlines for certain things to occur because you don't have the bandwidth nor the ability to think things through. You may recognize that you have a reduction in creativity. In other words, you just want to do is right after work is just watch TV and zone out. This is one of those things to note, is that when we start reducing our creativity, that means that there's a part of us that's feeling overcompensating for exhaustion from our employer. The other thing is that we can notice our performance skills have decreased. We can also be suddenly angry or sad very easily. And we just feel trapped or we feel empty. But in the reality, it always feels like no matter how many hours of sleep you get, you still feel exhausted because it's not about sleep. It's about the fact that you're overwhelmed with the amount of stress. It means that you haven't had the time to look and figure out how to work with that type of stress. So that is what burnout happens, is when we're not balancing our work and personal life. This becomes a huge problem because it means that we're going to be dealing with burnout very soon. And a lot of this has to do with guilt too. We feel guilty because we're not doing enough with our personal life, or we feel guilty that we're doing stuff with our personal life but not finishing up a project at work. So there's guilt that plays around with this as well. But the one thing to keep in mind with burnout is that it can lead to people going to the hospital, because burnout itself, if it's not treated in time, this could end up having your friends and your colleagues who are dealing with burnout having strokes or having illnesses, or also just constantly feeling sick or having a weaker immune system. So it's really important for us to acknowledge burnout as something very serious. And this is why employers need to start caring a little bit more about their employees, because if you have a team of people that are completely burned out, chances are they're more likely to click on a phishing link, and then that's going to become a huge breach problem for you. But I want to talk about specifically of how our industry has put us into this situation. Even before the pandemic, the reality is that if we work within security, we are required to work around the clock all days, even holidays, even our weekends and everything, because that is how security runs. It is 24/7. And that's what makes it a very unique industry, because not all industries are 24/7, but security is. And because of that, that means even further demands are placed upon us, because it's this belief that security needs to be 24/7, which it needs to be, but we need to find a way how to make that better for everyone. Because the key facts are this, that 95% of executives want security employees to work more than the committed hours that they agreed on, because it's automatically assumed that if you're on a security team, you are in charge of their security and you will work all hours and be on call at all hours because that was your choice of being in this field. And unfortunately, that's not really how the world works. And this is one of the reasons that it's causing us to have burnout, is because we have all these society pressures, or also industry pressures, to constantly be performing, when in reality, we need to also put down boundaries. The other thing is that 74% of companies have absolutely zero incident response plans, or it could just be that the plans are out of date. This is a huge stress, because when employees are basically, they're aware that there is no incident response plan, or that there hasn't been any for a very, very long time or hasn't been up to date, that means that when a breach does occur, it's going to be ad hoc style to fix it. And that's something very, very stressful for us because we don't know how that's going to work or how that's going to go down. It has a lot to do with communication, teamwork, other departments to participate. It also has to deal with any third-party parties as well, or certain tools. And the reality is that what we tend to do in this situation is, instead of fixing the human element problem and acknowledging we have a problem, is that organizations then throw tools at it. And we see this quite a bit in information security, is that companies will constantly throw tools to try to fix a problem, when in reality, to fix the problem was just asking your teammates how to do better on something. So this is the reason why organizations have 45 different tools on average for security. But the problem to note is that with incident response plans, because we know that they're out of date or that there isn't really a very serious incident response plan, is that they tend to, on average, use about 19 tools and a certain coordination to make sure that the breach could be fixed or it could be explored further. And this is the problem. We have too many tools. We're not trying to take the time to understand the human element problem. And we're dealing with a lot of assumptions. And basically, it's one of these key reminders right now is that we are not robotic in a sense. And this is going to hurt us, and it's going to hurt the company and its customers even more so, because we can't adjust to this reality. So I want to give you a kind of a good idea of why burnout actually matters. The reality is, I want you to imagine that you're on a new cruise ship and you are the leader of your cruise ship. And while on your cruise ship, your entire team is feeling a little bit unwell. You can say that they have seasickness or possibly some food poisoning, but they're not feeling so good. But the unfortunate bit is that you just got notified that your cruise ship is going down. And you have customers on this board trusting you with their life and hoping that you will save and protect them. But you're also worried about possibly the reputation of the cruise ship liner as well. But at the same time, you have a team of people that are possibly not 100% who they usually are because they are kind of sick. If anything, you could say that your crew is totally burned out physically and also emotionally, because this might be the first time ever they've gone into a situation of a cruise ship going down. Now, as the leader, you pull out the handy dandy binder. And this handy dandy binder is supposed to tell you how to go about this incident and how to respond to it. The safety protocol handbook, we can call it. Well, imagine that this protocol book you're looking so forward to having, you pull it out, but the reality is that the book itself is out of date. It doesn't have the same features that are actually on the ship. So you're using a very old incident response plan that isn't working for this new ship that you are using right now, and your ship is going down. What do? This is what it's like when working in security. It is so, so scary because we know that this is a real reality. And because of that, that's another reason why we're already feeling stressed out. So we know we have to be on call 24/7 because we're there to protect people. We're here to protect and to be there for our customers, but also protect the company as well. It is so important and critical to understand that in security, it's a really demanding industry, and having any role in it is highly demanding, and it could be incredibly stressful than most other industries and other jobs. This is why many of us are burned out, is because we're in this situation. And I want to talk to you now about how we can make it better, because we can. Changing the industry will take time, but it's a brand new one, so it shouldn't take as much time versus older industries, but it is possible. But we first start with what your employer can do. First things first, they can listen and take action. Instead of investing in another tool, sit down with your team and gently ask them, What can I do to do better as a leader? Or what can we all do to make our security better? And take down notes. Maybe what will happen is that in these conversations, they might recommend a different tool, a tool that does 5 things all in one, so it reduces the amount of tools that you already have. Also, bringing your incident response plan up to date and putting something in place for going back into it and making sure it's always up to date as if a certain change happens. This is why it's important that we have to start doing better teamwork and listening to everyone on your team. It doesn't matter where they rank title-wise, they all have a good say. They all come from different backgrounds, and using your entire team's backgrounds is what makes it better, because you're diversifying all the possible things that you may not have included originally in your strategy plan. This is why it's important to strategize together. But most importantly, is also to encourage self-care. If you are an employer, it's important for you to always make sure that your teammates are doing well, not just, with their work, but emotionally that they're okay. And how you do that is basically making sure that you have one day per week where you have absolutely 0 meetings. This allows people to catch up on things. Another thing is to reinforce that if anyone needs to take time off, they can do so. And when they do come to you for time off, don't push back. Instead, be like, okay, I will get this done. I will figure this out. I may have some questions before you go to make sure that we have something in place while you take your time off. It's important that we understand that the only way how to cure from burnout is taking time off, and usually for up to 1 whole week. From everything. That means away from devices, everything related to InfoSec, taking that whole week is going to be really important for recovering. It's also to acknowledge to be kind. We're all going through different things right now because of the pandemic, so it's really important that we practice empathy and listening to one another and trying to understand one another as best as we possibly can. And don't assume based on one's appearance how things really are in their own home life. So what can you do right now is take a screenshot of this slide or take a photo of it and share it with everyone that you know. It's very simple. This all can take you at most 15 minutes to do. It's to set weekly one-on-ones for 15 minutes with each team member. This is vital for both of you to be on the same page on what to prioritize, what projects are coming up, but also to see what kind of deadlines are also can be moved or pushed out, or how you can help this person make sure they achieve their goals. Make Monday or Friday a day where there's absolutely no meetings. This allows for your team to play catch up if ever needed. Set up a meeting with the team to explore ways to improve together. I would say do a 1-hour meeting with your entire team to just look at how can we do better on incident response plans. What can we do about tools? Which ones should we leave? Which ones should we get rid of? Is there any other tools that are recommended? But also to come up with ideas and strategies on how to improve your security strategy overall. It shouldn't just rest on a CISO on how to be compliant and how to have best practices. That's great and everything. But it also takes an entire team, no matter what their title and background, to really showcase how to do better. Also create an anonymous survey. And what I mean is really make it anonymous and don't assume that everyone's going to participate, because many of us are paranoid in security. And that's why we believe in zero trust. It's why we're also in this industry, is because we don't know whether or not you're actually tracking us. And so we may not respond to it, but it's good to at least keep a door open for employees to come to you. But last but not least, I just want to remind you that burnouts can be avoided. Is by understanding that when we have a burnout, it means there's going to be a dumpster fire. So that's why when we have one team member that's burned out, this can lead to a ricochet, which becomes a dumpster fire on your security side of the house of your company. So it's important to acknowledge that even if one team member is burned out, they must take time off. And also to help them, maybe they're wearing too many hats, maybe you've given them too many projects, maybe you just need to ask them what they need help with, but really make it into a conversation and dialogue like that one-on-one for 15 minutes per week. But overall, how to reduce burnout is just acknowledging that burnout places you and your team at a huge risk, but also acknowledging that if we collaborate and form strategies to improve the team by working together and communicate effectively, that's going to be very helpful. It's for us to acknowledge that we must listen, but also when we listen, that we take further actions and not just let it go through one ear and go out through the other. Start making plans to revisit your security response plans. This is really important because this helps us feel like security is being taken more seriously, but also if a breach does occur, because a breach will occur no matter what at every company. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. We don't know. So it's important for us to always know that we have a plan in our back pocket and it's updated every time there's a change on staff, or if there's a new tool that was implemented or removed from, or if everyone's working from home, any of that kind of stuff, we need to change our security plan or update it. And last but not least, always important is to promote self-care by being kind and respectful to boundaries. Employees need boundaries and you need to respect them. So don't call them on the weekend, don't call them after work hours unless it really is an emergency. I just want to say thank you so much for having me. If you have any questions at all, feel free to DM me privately on Twitter. That is my handle. Also feel free to follow. That is my LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to connect with you on LinkedIn. And if you're on Instagram, I'm on Instagram. It would be great to have you on there. And I'm so happy to be here once again. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm excited for our Q&A time.